Hello everybody, Ed0626 here. Hope you're all having a great day today. Hope you are all having a great Thanksgiving weekend if you celebrated it here in the States. If not, hope you're just having a great weekend in general. So today's video is basically going to serve the purpose of what my thoughts have been after over a week since Battlefield 2042 has officially released worldwide. I gotta be honest with you folks, it's been a fun experience, but it's also been a very frustrating one. Now, before I actually begin and get more in detail on that, typically my reviews have been like me taking notes and me kind of individually talking about factors I enjoy or don't enjoy about the game. To be honest with you, there are other videos that are out there that do similar things to that better than I ever could. I think Jack Frags released a video about a week and a half ago now, and it summed up everything pretty perfectly in my opinion in terms of what the actual issues with 2042 are. But for me, the whole purpose is just my experience. Now, going off of that, I feel like part of the frustration has been, for me anyway, ever since I moved to PC, and not necessarily a PC player, but I still play on console, I just use my PC monitor, I've become wildly ineffective for some reason. Games I was doing pretty solid on by playing on a normal television on my PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 before I moved screens have changed for me. And I can't really describe it any better than that. I feel as though I know what I have to do, I know what I usually do, but for some reason, my skill has kind of wavered a little bit. I'm not the best gamer anyway, I'm pretty average at best, but ever since I made the move and played some first-person shooters on there, I've realized that I'm fallen below average and probably downright shit, depending on what game I'm playing. So I think that has something to do with it as well, as why I'm having frustrations still after all these months of trying to play games through my PlayStation 5 on my PC monitor. And then there's the fact that I think aspects of 2042 are not really well optimized. I've noticed quite a few times that the fucking game drops frames every time I, aim down sight. Depending on what scope or sight I'm using, I noticed that as well in a video I watched, that depending on the scope you used, you're dropping frames pretty significantly. And it's kind of annoying, especially if you're using the DMR. And I don't like using the DMRs at all. I think they're probably one of my least favorite guns to use in the game. But there are certain guns I do like to use in that class, and I find very effective at long range if I have to use a long range weapon, and I can't do that because every time I aim in, the frames start to drop, and on top of that, there's no fucking aim assist in the game. Well, at least it feels like it doesn't have aim assist. And I'm aiming 20 feet to the left or right of where I want to be, and meanwhile, the guy I'm trying to shoot at, while I'm trying to adjust my aim, is already taking me down to half health and is probably going to kill me in the gunfight regardless. So either way, I'm kind of fucked. I feel like that's an issue in the game, is some of the frame dropping issues. On top of that, the vehicles I have found are actually quite ineffective. I don't typically use vehicles. I'm normally the gunner, and even then I think the gunner position has been wildly ineffective for the most part, depending on what vehicle you're actually using. There's this one vehicle though that I actually like a lot, the one with the 30mm cannon on it. That one's a beast. I really like that one a lot. It's a really solid anti-infantry and sometimes anti-vehicle vehicle, for lack of better terms. But it's more of a transport, if anything. On top of that, I hate the fucking server browser, or lack of a server browser. Now let me tell you this much, man. I have maybe played most of the maps in 2042, but the only maps I haven't played, and I know for a fact, are Kaleidoscope, which is the city map, and Breakaway, which is the snow map that's in the game. I haven't played any of the fucking maps. Every other time I land into a server, it lands me into the maps I've already played 30 fucking times. Discarded. I played maybe Hourglass twice. Hell, I haven't even played fucking Orbital. I maybe played it like 2 or 3 times in the week and a half or so I've been playing the game. I'm always getting the same fucking maps over and over again because the game doesn't have a fucking server browser and doesn't allow me to choose what maps I want to play, which is fucking lame because some of the maps I don't even fucking like in the game. But if I had to choose a favorite, I'd probably say the Manifest one, the one with the shipping containers, and then the one that's like half and half, the desert and the farming area, whatever the fuck that is. Those two are probably my favorite. I mean, Orbital's a pretty solid map too, but I've played it so much I can pretty much say it's my favorite by default, given the fact that I know it the best out of all the maps I've played. Discarded's alright too, but it's kind of a fucking mess sometimes, considering that there's literally no cover in any part of the map other than the shipping, the broken cargo ships. And I can't even say anything about Kaleidoscope and Breakaway because I haven't fucking played them. I've had no opportunity to play them on any fucking mode, whether it's Conquest or Breakthrough. Speaking of which, I really would like to have more modes in All Out Warfare. I don't know. Rush, Team Deathmatch, something where I don't have to go to Portal to play a type of game mode that should already be in the game by default, regardless of whether it can support 128 players or not. Hell, even if you cut the maps down by like a half or close to 3/4, they'd be a pretty solid 62v62 Team Deathmatch map, depending on what area you decide to choose. But that's just my opinion. I mean, take that with a grain of salt, depending on how you feel about Team Deathmatch. But either way, I just want more modes. I just want more modes in the game. On top of that, there's really no weapons. I mean, I maybe have used 3 weapons in the entire game because I find most of the weapons to be fucking ineffective. Shotguns I haven't touched. I'm not really a big shotgun guy anyway, depending on the type of game I'm playing or the type of mode I'm playing. But shotguns are wildly ineffective, and I can't imagine anybody actually using the shotgun because most of your gunfights are mid to long range anyway, unless you're in a very condensed area of enemy. I think the only gun I've really used consistently has been the first 2 assault rifles, and then maybe the SVK. That's about it. And snipers, everyone knows I don't typically snipe in Battlefield anyway, so that's a given that I don't touch it. And the LMG, the first LMG I have used too, I remember now, but even then. And the other problem I have is the fucking accuracy of these guns. I mean, shit, I go to a Portal, I put together a nice solid ACR or M16 class in Battlefield 3, and I'm pretty solid in that regard. And then I go to All Out Warfare, and all my fucking guns are kicking up like nobody's business, so I can't even get my accuracy right. So I'm sitting here with my gun jumping up and down, especially the AK. The AK is the worst offender of all of this. The fucking AK is jumping up and down. I can't get a solid fucking shot on the guy, and I end up losing the gunfight because my gun's bouncing all over the place because I have to level up all the fucking attachments for it. Which is really why I kind of missed the battle pack thing, like from Battlefield 4, where I unlocked certain attachments in the battle packs depending on what I got. That was a lifesaver when I needed certain attachments for my gun, like a sight or a grip or a long barrel, something along those lines to help my accuracy just a little bit so I can at least contend with some of these fucking players, man, that are already, 50, 60, 70, 80 plus, maybe even 100 at this point if you no-life the game for the last week and a half, which is kind of lame, to be honest. And then we talk about Portal. Now, I'm not going to lie. I don't give a flying fuck about the Portal modes that other people have created. I have not touched them. I have maybe touched one of them to play Rush on. And that was not really a fun experience because it was hardcore and a friend of mine made me fucking play that. And I really don't play hardcore anything in Battlefield. But overall, Portal is where I have the most fun in the game. Because Portal is at least something that's easy to learn. And not easy to learn at the same time. And I'll explain that in a second. But as far as games I'm already familiar with, Battlefield 3 is the same as Battlefield 4. I never played Battlefield 3, but I can pretty much guarantee how the game plays just based on how I've played Battlefield 4 in the past. That's a given in itself. Bad Company 2? It's not bad. I like Bad Company 2. It's probably my second favorite of all the Portal games they have implemented into the overall game. I would like to see more maps for each of these games because I really do feel that the lack of content in terms of maps is kind of hurting the game in the long run, but it is what it is. And then there's Battlefield 1942, which it's not my favorite. It's really not my favorite out of all the three. I like the vehicle gameplay in it. It's probably the most fun I have when I have played it, but the gunplay in the game, unless you're using certain assault rifle-esque guns, for me anyway, and this is just my experience because I never played 1942 because it was only a PC game as far as I know back in the day. If you're using anything other than like the STG or the BAR, you're probably fucked. And that's just the God's honest truth, because the SMGs kick like a motherfucker. I tried using the MP40 on a match of Battle of the Bulge once, and my gun's kicking all over the place. I'm not even hitting my target. Again, to the accuracy thing I talked about earlier. But my gun's kicking all over the place. I can't fucking hit my targets with that gun, and I can't even imagine what the Thompson's gonna be like, because the Thompson, at least in all the games I've used it in, is a notorious recoil machine. Pretty fucking useful when you get it in a certain situation, if it's like a tight space and you're just mowing down enemies with a drum mag, but really ineffective if you're trying to do long range type of play with it. That's just my experience. And I haven't even used any of the other classes, because those are like the only two I've ever bothered to think about using, which is the Assault and the Medic classes. Now, the reason why I say it's kind of difficult is because if you really break it down to brass tacks, 2042 as a whole, as an entire experience, is 4 separate games in one. You have 1942, which has, while it's all under the same, some of the same rules and UI changes and such, it's a game that plays drastically different from Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3. Bad Company 2 plays very similarly to Battlefield 3, but it's not the same because of the maps and how each of the weapons kind of play. Battlefield 3 doesn't play like most of the fucking guns in the goddamn game, because they all actually have little to no recoil in any of the fucking things I've used, because that's just how they kept it. And the way I've seen old Battlefield 3 gameplay is that there's really no recoil on many of the weapons. It's kind of a low recoil type of game, which I could appreciate. And I think the gunplay in Battlefield 3 is miles better than anything in 2042. And if you ask me, 2042 is the toughest to learn out of all of them, because it's so different, because the maps are so fucking big, because the weapons play so differently than all other games that are involved in 2042 as an entire experience. You're essentially playing 4 different games. So imagine going from Bad Company 2 and all the way to 2042, or 1942, going all the way to All Out Warfare in 2042. That's a drastic fucking change, in my honest opinion. Different rules, different settings, different everything. But that's just my opinion. I still think Portal as an overall experience is much more fun than All Out Warfare. And All Out Warfare has its good things and bad things too. It's just that I find it to be the most frustrating aspect about the overall game to me. I just find Portal to be so much easier to learn. And I really do wish that down the line Portal gets more maps, because I don't want to have to play the same 2 maps all the time. I don't want to play Arica Harbor all the time on Battlefield 3 or Caspian Border. I don't want to play No Shar Canals all the time, or that jungle map, which to me isn't that good. The jungle map is probably one of my least favorites in Bad Company 2. So Valparaiso, I think it's called, or something like that. And then the 1942 maps just play like giant fucking Battlefield maps. El Alamein is almost equally as big as, or it feels equally as big as any fucking map that's already in All Out Warfare, like Breakaway or Hourglass or things of that nature, especially Hourglass, considering it's also a desert map. So that's kind of like my breakdown of Battlefield 2042. I've tried to sum it up as best I can. I have no notes in front of me, because if I start breaking shit down, you're already going to hear the same shit already. Some of it you've already heard already here too, but this is just kind of my take on everything. So I want to know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I know there has been a patch to a lot of the game already. I know a lot of things have been patched. I haven't played the patches yet, so this is kind of a pre-patch take. But to be honest with you, I can't imagine much has changed outside of what I've already said, so I just hope the gunplay is fixed in the all-out warfare aspect of the game, because that's where I really see an issue, is the gunplay in 2042's main aspect of the game. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out today's video. If you want to subscribe, by all means do so. It's free. I try to post as many videos as I can now. Granted, I have a little bit of time to do so while I'm looking for a new job. And of course, you can always support my social medias down in the description below. Twitter, Twitch, all that jazz. You can also subscribe to the 69 Whiskey Podcast on your favorite podcasting platform. New episodes every Friday at midnight Eastern. So depending on where you are in the world, you'll always have an opportunity to check out 69 Whiskey. See you guys on the next one. Have a great day.